What are the best marketing strategies for a private investigations business today? Welcome to the PI Guy channel. My name is John Morris. I am a licensed professional private investigator. I am often asked about how a private investigator can best advertise and market their business, and this is a very tricky subject to be sure. When I think of advertising any business, I first consider all the advertising and marketing to be a combined strategy. I don't think there's any one thing that does it all. Let's first discuss the differences between marketing and advertising. I know when I first got started in business, I used these two terms almost interchangeably. However, while similar, they are not the same. The basic premise of marketing is the process of identifying your client's needs and behaviors through research, while advertising uses that marketing information to promote your company's services to potential clients. Based on that, I would say the best way to market your business or researching your client's needs would be to closely examine what your competitors are doing and how they are promoting their businesses. In a larger market area, you might consider hiring a marketing firm to do that research, but that can get a bit pricey. While I may from time to time seek a consultant to help me in some areas of marketing, I more often prefer to put in the time commitment myself and do that research myself. Now, when it comes to advertising or promoting your business, which I believe most of us think of when we talk about marketing, there are several avenues that you might consider. I have three primary strategies I use to market my PI business, and I will let you in on that secret in just a moment. But first, a quick word from this video's sponsor. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. Let's first discuss Google Ads, as I am sure a lot of PIs out there want to know if Google Ads are successful or not. I have tried Google Ads in the past for my PI business, and I had a fair amount of success back in the day with Google Ads. However, getting a PI ad up on Google Ads today is very difficult, to say the least. When I first started using Google Ads several years ago, I would randomly find out that my ads were pulled from Google or they had limited views due to limitations with their guidelines. I had inquired with them about this, and it took me a long time, but I finally got the answer as to why my ads were being disapproved or limited. The answer didn't help much, but I got it. Their response was something like this: private investigator services are in the gray zone, as they may provide services that enable a user to gain unauthorized access or make unauthorized changes to systems and devices. So after I read that about a dozen times and scratched my head for about 20 minutes or so, I asked them for clarification on their answer. And they replied with this: private investigator services are in the gray zone, as they may provide services that enable a user to gain unauthorized access or make unauthorized changes to systems and devices. Yeah, go figure. The bottom line is Google does not typically run PI ads any longer, sort of. I see ads running for business directory sites all the time, and I see ads for companies that provide services to PIs like database companies all the time. But they rarely will allow regular PI ads like they used to, because the industry in many countries is still considered a scam type of business. Go figure. I actually talked to a Google rep finally, and that is what he told me. Now, all of that said, I am starting to see some ads popping up for PI firms a little bit on Google. I myself am not jumping back on that bandwagon, however, for several reasons. First, I am not sure if this is an anomaly and these folks just found a workaround or an exploit somehow to get around things, which could mean down the road the ads will get pulled, and even worse, get the account banned from advertising. Second, I don't want to invest my time and energy into something that may simply be finding a workaround or an exploit. And thirdly, if they start allowing PI ads again, the market will become saturated with PI ads, and getting exposure will be very costly. But the biggest reason is this: everyone knows what this means. Everyone knows those top few lines are usually advertisements, and most people now just scroll down a few lines below the ads to find what they are searching for. And that leads me to what I think is one of the most effective advertising means for a private investigator today, and that is what the client sees when they scroll down below those ads. Your web page or your competitor's web page is what is below those ads. For me, if I need to focus a lot of attention and resources on one area in the internet search world, I am going to focus resources on my website ranking over Google Ads. I understand if you can get a Google ad to run, big if there, folks, but if you can do it, yes, you may see very quick results. By results, I mean you may see your ad being displayed within a day or two of it being approved, if they approve it. You will also start seeing clicks, which leads to costs, which leads to not necessarily gaining customers. Google ads work very well at getting people to click sometimes, but they are also very difficult to get them to work only with potential customers. They often attract other people who are interested in something about the industry, but not really looking to hire you. And they click, and it costs you money. Maybe $2 each click, perhaps $5 each click, or $10, or even higher. But if you invest in your website and getting it to rank higher by improving SEO, search engine optimization, and you get clicks, those clicks cost you nothing. So you can be much broader in your approach with your website, whereas shotgun advertising with a Google ad could cost you hundreds or even thousands and net you very little return. Listen to this story really quickly. I knew a guy, a PI, way back in the day, who used to brag about how much he spent, tens of thousands of dollars he spent every year on advertising on Google. And he bragged about all the calls he got, all the business he got, and how busy he was all the time. So I asked him a few questions as his success really piqued my interest. I asked, how many calls do you get a day? He said 10 to 20 most days. Impressive. So then I asked him how many sales he got a day, and he said 1 or 2, which could still be very impressive depending on the type of work he was getting. Then I dug a little deeper and I asked him how many of those calls were from people he spoke to before. And he said, well, I don't know exactly, but it is a lot. That is kind of a problem because I spend a lot of time talking to the same people over and over. Then I asked him how many of the jobs he got did he work himself, and the answer was startling. He said, not many. I take the easy ones sometimes, but I am so busy on the phone, I have to keep myself available to answer it when it rings. So I asked, you are subbing out most of your work then? And he said, yeah, it works pretty well that way. Well, you know what, folks? That guy is no longer a PI. In fact, he stopped being a PI long before he closed up his business. He became a salesman, and a phone salesman at that, and he was really good at it. But after he closed up shop, I had coffee with him, and he told me, man, I don't know how you do it, John. I was working 12 plus hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week, managing 5 to 10 investigators and 5 to 10 cases all of the time, and I barely made over 60 grand a year. This shocked me. You see, he was bringing in almost $250,000 a year in revenue, but most of that went out to advertising costs, sub costs, and other expenses. He was also only getting those low dollar $400 to $1,000 cases, which meant he had to do more work managing cases. For me, I would rather bring in a lot less, work the jobs myself a lot more, go for the big jobs over the little jobs, and earn a lot more with few hours to put in. You see, there is a lot of give and take in this business, and if you're not careful, the business will take every ounce of energy out of you. Now back to your website. Investing in your website, having it professionally designed with SEO in mind from the get-go is probably one of the biggest and best investments you can make, but it takes time. It will not be the top of page in 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months after you launch it, but given time, 6 months, a year or two, you will start to see some amazing results. Now, while you're waiting, you need to do some other things to get the word out there about your business. The first is networking. Check into your state's PI association, become a member, do some handshaking, get the word out there about your business and your services, and build those relationships. Being a member of your state PI association will benefit your website immensely too. Most membership groups like that give you a link to your website from their website, and most PI associations have a high-ranking website, and those links mean a lot to the search engine algorithms. Another huge thing you can do to help your website is to get reviews from clients. I ask almost every client for a review, and when I ask for this, I always say, if we deserve anything less than a 5-star review, please let me know what we can do to improve our services for you. Now, those reviews will increase your webpage ranking quite a bit, as it is another algorithm booster. But keep in mind, less than 1% of your customers will leave a review. Most people do not want others to know they hired a PI. Now listen up. Here's the biggest thing you can do to get your page ranked up pretty quickly in most cases. This doesn't always work. It is going to depend on the market you're in, how saturated that market is, but this does help in most cases. That is getting listed on Google Maps. Google Maps are displayed in most cases right below the ads before the organic searches. And the big secret here is that the businesses that are displayed on the map are often in close proximity to the people searching on Google. To get on Google Maps, you're going to need a physical street address for your business. I do not suggest using your home address. If you office at home, get a P.O. box from a post office. Most of those you can get a street address with it too. Or go to a UPS store or something like that and use that as your street address. Make sure you think of the location for that address in correlation to where your targeted customers are located. I always recommend the city center if possible. You don't want a P.O. box in a smaller city that sits next to a large market area where you will draw customers from. So if I was in the Dallas, Texas area, I would want a P.O. box with a street address in Dallas, not in Plano or Garland. Even though they are larger communities, the average customer looking for a PI in that area is most likely to search for Dallas Private Investigator rather than Plano Private Investigator. And if they search for something like Private Investigator near me, well, if your street address is in Plano, you will get more people close to that address than if it was in Dallas. I know it is way more complicated than all of that. I don't have the time in one of these videos to explain it all, but as I discussed earlier, one thing you should do is look into your state PI association, and if you would like to know more about the benefits of joining your state PI association, then check out this video.